Kia ora koutou, greetings and welcome. I'm Michele Morrison from Te Kuratoi Tangata in the Division of Education. Today's mini lecture, Culture Eats Strategy for Breakfast, comes from the Organisational Development paper Ed-Led 502, one of the compulsory papers in the Master of Educational Leadership and Master of Educational Management degrees. In Ed-Led 502, we focus on leading culture, learning and change within organisations. Have you ever wondered why so much organisational change doesn't succeed or is short-lived in duration? Not the rapid shifts that a virus like COVID-19 wreaks on an unsuspecting world, but the many planned changes that organisations spend months, if not years, strategising, implementing and monitoring. The answers are far from simple, and one of the most powerful ones is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. As humans, we are complex beings with diverse worldviews, motivations and guiding values. When we come together in groups such as schools, companies and institutions, these coalesce into patterns of behaviour, ways of thinking and doing that over time become so taken for granted that they are no longer questioned. They are so entrenched in the organisational fabric that they're simply the way that we do things around here. Renowned MIT professor Edgar Schein defines organisational culture as a pattern of basic assumptions and ways of working that have worked well enough to be considered valid and therefore to be taught to new members as the correct way to think, perceive and feel in relation to those problems. Culture develops within groups and therefore exists at multiple levels, at team, syndicate, faculty and across the organisation as a whole. The foundation leader or leaders create culture, and group members become culture bearers who enact and preserve these social and professional norms. This is why culture is so powerful. Organisational culture determines the manner in which people interact with one another and the way in which they approach the puzzles and problems of practice. So for planned change to succeed, it must either align with existing cultural norms, or the leader must begin the deliberate and time-consuming process of reshaping problem-solving assumptions and processes. If they don't, people will continue to act in the same way that they always have behind closed doors, and culture will eat strategy for breakfast. Let's dive a little deeper into Schein's layers of culture. At the surface level are artefacts, visible symbols of culture that include signage, artworks, memorabilia, web pages, etc. Whether or not the meaning of these artefacts is fully understood, the artefacts that last are typically part of the underlying culture. Values lie partly above the surface and partly below. They're hard to observe directly but govern our behaviour. We can often infer values by interviewing key members of the organisation and analysing artefacts such as documents, vision statements and charters. Schein cautions us, however, that the explanations people give are espoused values, which may or may not reflect the underlying reasons for their behaviour. Basic assumptions are beliefs and learned responses that define the relationship that people have with their environment and the way in which they make day-to-day decisions within an organisation. For example, an assumption might be, it's best to speak up when I have a good idea, or conversely, it's best to keep quiet. As we create our new post-COVID normal, leaders have a wonderful opportunity to revisit, review and reinvigorate organisational culture. This is what true leaders do. In fact, Schein goes as far as to say that culture and leadership are two sides of the same coin. If leaders do not understand and manage culture, it will manage them and eat those elaborate change strategies for breakfast. To unlock organisational culture and other mysteries of living organisations, come and join us. Thanks for listening.